Planet of Lana 2 review. The first Planet of Lana wasn't a massive hit, but it won the hearts of players who love 2D platformers with puzzles and beautiful adventures with a distinctive style. When the Swedish studio wishfully started working on the game, they didn't plan a sequel. However, during development they realized they couldn't fit everything into one small platformer. 3 years after the original's release, we got Planet of Lana 2. It doesn't differ much from its predecessor, it didn't get worse, but there aren't many noticeable improvements either. The events of the first game are kindly recapped in the introductory video. While the characters in the game itself speak a fictional language, the recap comes with clear subtitles. On the planet Novo lived a people who were attacked by alien invaders. Among others, they struck the family of the protagonist, Lana. They kidnapped her sister, whom we spent the entire first game rescuing while traveling with the strange creature Mui, a four-legged fluffball that resembles a cat. The events of the new part take place a couple of years after the finale of Planet of Lana. Humanity has found common ground with the alien robots and even uses the machines in everyday life. They help in the garden and catch fish. This general idyll is disrupted by the appearance of a new human tribe whose goal is to extract rare metals and minerals from the planet's depths using those same robots. The fossils turn out to be radioactive, and our curious young niece approaches one of the stones lying in the middle of the forest. She immediately becomes infected and falls terminally ill. To create the medicine, 3 ingredients scattered across the world must be collected. At first, you're a bit surprised by how banal a story structure the developers chose. However, this was probably the simplest way to show the player a variety of regions. There's a snowy mountain with gusts of wind that blow you off platforms, an entire underwater world with regular and electric fish, and dense jungles with appropriate flora and fauna. There will be other locations too, but I'll avoid spoilers. In parallel, the developers reveal more details about the game's universe, including flashbacks to events that took place 100 years before the sequel. For those who enjoyed building theories and discussing the plot of the first game, there's even more food for thought here. At least in this sense, Planet of Lana 2 succeeds. It's a shame that the ending feels rushed and also hints at a continuation. It's great that a third part is planned, but the first game didn't need this kind of cliffhanger. Mui still hasn't learned to swim. So many puzzles involve finding a way to cross to the other side. At the same time, a lot of attention was paid to the story, making it equally interesting for fans of the original and for new players. The visual style changes depending on the heroine's mood and recent events. The music by Takeshi Furukawa, who worked on the first game and The Last Guardian, is very expressive and perfectly complements every scene. The lack of normal dialogue doesn't hurt at all. The animators masterfully convey the characters' emotions through body language and intonation. By the way, the characters don't just make random sounds. A new language was created for the sequel, and the deluxe edition of the game even includes a guide to it. Lana returns as the protagonist in the sequel, now older. Controlling her feels more comfortable than in the original. Although her graceful movements sometimes recall the Prince of Persia from the 1989 game, in the time since the first game's finale, the girl has learned a lot. She runs faster, grabs ledges better, and can perform slides. You can slide on your backside into narrow passages instead of crouching in front of them. If platforming in the previous game sometimes caused issues because the character would undershoot jumps and fall, there are no such problems here. Mui accompanies us from the very beginning, so Planet of Lana 2 immediately introduces the player to one of the series' main features, controlling 2 characters. The left stick moves Lana like in any standard platformer. The right stick moves a cursor/pointer across the screen, after which you can command Mui to move to the chosen spot. You have to do this often, since the creature jumps much higher than Lana and can reach hard-to-access places where his unique abilities come in handy. For example, Mui can disable robots and security systems. Sometimes this lets Lana sneak past enemies, and in some cases she can hack robots and control them. In the sequel, Mui has learned new tricks. He can now possess local creatures. Sometimes you'll control a fish to avoid running out of air underwater, other times a roller, a fluffy animal that freely rolls along ceilings and walls, leaving a trail behind. There seem to be plenty of mechanics, and the sequel features interesting puzzles. But there aren't that many truly great ones. The developers put the player in the same situations multiple times, and in some cases they copy their own ideas from 3 years ago. In my review of the first Planet of Lana, I wrote about how often Mui has to drop ropes from high platforms so Lana can climb them. This mechanic is also frequently used in the sequel, except sometimes the ropes are chewed through instead of dropped, and how many times you'll have to disable security cameras using the exact same method. Sometimes these puzzles feel less like interesting situations, logically integrated into the game world, and more like obstacles, especially when the solution is more or less obvious, but you still have to press all the buttons due to the specific controls. Move Lana, move the pointer for Mui, hold one button, then another, take control of the roller or fish, send them to the right spot. And if you make a mistake and the creature you possess dies, you have to do the whole thing over again. There are also some very good puzzles, especially in the second half of the game. You just expect a sequel to at least fix the predecessor's mistakes, not to mention introduce innovations. Here, the developers prioritized expanding the universe and showing new locations, while also increasing the game's length. They mostly ignored the complaints about the first game's gameplay, so don't be surprised when you have to simply run from left to right for 20 or even 30 seconds several times without making a single jump. The previous game was guilty of this too. There were areas that seemed like they should have puzzles, but ended up being just beautiful filler sections. They really are beautiful, the visual style hasn't changed, so you'll want to take screenshots at every step in the sequel. The color palette in all locations, even the gloomy ones, feels very rich, even though it actually isn't. The artists do an amazing job using a minimal number of colors, showing the volume of every object on screen with just 2 or 3 shades. Plus, in the second game, just like in the first, parallax scrolling is used to the fullest. There's no feeling that a flat character is running across equally flat platforms, yet you never have trouble understanding where you can and cannot jump. Well, except for a couple of moments. However, it's hard to say that the developers made a technological leap in the sequel. It's not even a step forward. The new game looks extremely similar to the last one. There are a few episodes where new lighting tricks are noticeable. For example, when characters stand in the forest and sunlight falls unevenly on them through the tree crowns. But for the most part, the graphics feel roughly the same. This isn't bad, it just once again shows how small a step forward the sequel makes. Planet of Lana 2 is a great gift for fans of the first game who primarily fell in love with its pleasant visuals, touching music, and uncomplicated puzzles. If you wanted a reason not only to return to this world, but also to learn more about its inhabitants and history, and the flaws of the previous game didn't ruin your impression, the sequel will give you an excellent evening with Lana and her mysterious companion. If you were hoping the series would be taken to a new level, that didn't happen in any way. The creators followed the principle of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, even though not everything worked perfectly in the first game. Well, we'll wait for Planet of Lana 3 since they're clearly hinting at it. Pros. Still a gorgeous visual style that makes every location mesmerizing, a more interesting story thanks to dialogue in the fictional language and flashbacks that expand the universe. Some puzzles are very good, especially in the second half of the game. Cons. Puzzles are repetitive, and the developers sometimes copy their own ideas from the first game. Running sections lasting 20-30 seconds, where nothing happens, still feel pointless. No noticeable graphical improvements compared to the previous game.